Good afternoon to one and all. I am R.V. Kiran, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering. Today, in this video lecture, I am going to explain you about the gear nomenclature and different advantages and disadvantages of the gears. So, in the previous class, we have discussed about the introduction to the gears, and today we are going to study about the different parts of the gears and advantages and disadvantages of the different types of gears. And this is my 64th lecture regarding to the subject kinematics of machinery. So these are the nomenclature. So we are taking the spur gears as an example. So the widely used gears is the spur gears. That is why we are taking the nomenclature for the spur gears. So we can see the different parts of the gears here. So in the greenish color, you can see the top line, that is the top surface of the gears, and the width of the gears is taken as face width, and the two parts in the gears, that is from the pitch circle, the above part of the pitch circle is known as addendum, and the lower part of the pitch circle is known as dedendum. So you can see it in the picture also. Next one is the hole depth. So the depth from the topmost layer from the top flange and the tooth thickness, that is the clearance, is taken as hole depth position. And next one is the working depth. So with having a clearance here, you can see the working depth of the gear, and this is the flank. So flank is the curvature part, which is the attachment part of the face and the bottom land. So the blue color one is called as the flank, and it is called as the face. So the curvature in the lower part of the top land is called as face. And next one, the topmost part of the addendum is the addendum circle, and the lower part of the dedendum is the dedendum circle. And here we can see the uppermost part of the dedendum circle as the clearance circle. So this is the circular pitch here. So let's go to the explanation. So first one is the pitch circle. So this pitch circle is the imaginary circle in which it is by pure rolling action. When we are going to roll the gear, the pitch circle comes into action and would give the same motion as the actual gear. Next one is pitch circle diameter. So next it is the diameter of the pitch circle. So where we have taken the rolling action of the gear as the pitch circle and the diameter of this pitch circle is called as pitch circle diameter and it is also known as the pitch diameter also. The next one is the pitch point. So it is a common point of the contact between two pitch circles. So this is the general common point of the contact between the two pitch circles. And next one is the pressure angle on angle of obliquity. So when coming to the pressure angle, it is the angle difference between the common normal to the two gate tooth at a point of contact, and it has a common tangent point at the pitch point. So it has a general a common tangent point, and these can be denoted by phi. And the standard pressure angles are two types. First one is the 14.5 degree, and second one is the 20 degree. Next one is the addendum. So it is the radial distance of a tooth from the pitch circle to the topmost part of the tooth. So it is the this is the addendum portion here. So from the circular pitch, the above part of the tooth is known as the addendum, lower part of the known as dedendum. So next one is the dedendum. So it is the radial distance of a tooth from the pitch circle to the bottom of the tooth. So you have to write the one point conversation of this element as it is in the exam. So you did not write the your own language. So remember you want to take the line as it is to the exam. Next one is the addendum circle. So it is the circle drawn through the top of the teeth, that is the topmost layer of the addendum teeth, and is concentric with the pitch circle, that is parallel to the pitch circle. Next one is the dedendum circle. It is the circle drawn through the bottom of the teeth and it is also called as root circle. So this dedenum circle is called also called as the root circle. Here, root circle diameter is taken as the pitch circle diameter into cos phi. So here phi is the pressure angle. We have already note down the point pressure angle in the previous slide. Next one is the circular pitch. So this circular pitch is directly measured between the distance on the circumference of the pitch circle from a point of one tooth to the corresponding point to the next tooth, and it is actually denoted by PC. So PC is the circular pitch here. So PC is taken as pi into d by t, that is pi d by t. So here capital D is taken as the diameter of the pitch circle and capital T is the number of the tooth on the wheel. So electrical concentration have to take that two gears will mesh together correctly if the two wheels have the same circular pitch. So if you are going to have the different circular pitch, you don't have the clearance to make it, that is meshing the gears. So that is the only point here. So the two gears which will be meshing together used to have the same circular pitch, and a pitch circle is taken as, that is pitch circle is equal to pi into d1 by t1, that is first gear diameter by teeth of the first gear, that is equal to the second gear diameter by second gear tooth, or it can also be taken as by cancelling the pi conditions here. So by cancelling the phi, two phi's here, we are going to take it as d1 by d2 is equal to t1 by t2. So this is also one more condition. Next one is the diametrical pitch. So this diametrical pitch is the ratio of the number of teeth to the pitch circle diameter in millimeters. So it is taken as the pitch circle diameter in millimeters, and it is denoted by PD, that is pitch circle diameter. Mathematically, it is also known as, so this can also be taken as pitch by diameter. Next one is the module. So this pitch circle diameter is also be taken as pi by PC, that is pi by pitch circle diameter. So we have already known the formula of pitch circle diameter is equal to pi d by d. And next one is the module. So it is the ratio of the pitch circle diameter in millimeters to the number of feet. So you are going to take the pitch circle diameter to the number of feet. So you have to verify the diameter of the pitch circle, and it is usually denoted by m, that is the module. And mathematically it is taken as small m is equal to d by t, that is module m is equal to d by t. And next it is the clearance. So this clearance is the radial distance from the top of the tooth to the bottom of the tooth in a meshing gear. So when you are going to take the meshing gear, it is called as the clearance. So that is the slight distance between the 2 points is called as the clearance. And a circle passing through the top of the meshing gear is known as the clearance circle. So that is easy to be taken as the clearance circle also. Then total depth. So it is the radial distance between the addendum and the dedendum circles of a gear, and it is equal to the sum of the addendum and dedendum points. Next last one is the total depth. So it is the radial distance between the addendum and dedendum circles of a gear. So you can see the addendum circles and the dedendum circles. And it is equal to the sum of the addendum portions and dedendum portions. So these are all the different qualitative products. Next one is the working depth. So it is the radial distance from the addendum circle to the clearance circle. So when you are going to see the addendum circle from the clearance circle, so in the lower order you have the clearance circle here. So this is the clearance, and the circle obtaining from the clearance is called as clearance circle. So from that point to the topmost of the addendum, that is the addendum circle, it is called as the working depth. So this is equal to the sum of the addendum of two meshing gears. So when you are going to meshing two gears, this is going to be very clear. Next one is the tooth thickness. So it is the width of the tooth which is to be measured along the pitch circle. So this is to be taken at the pitch circle. And next one is the tooth space. So this is the width of the space between the two adjacent teeth measured along the pitch circle. So this has to be measured along with the two pitch circles. Next one is the backlash of the gears. So the backlash of the gears is the difference between the tooth space and the tooth thickness, and as measured along the pitch circle. So this will be measured along the pitch circle. So theoretically, the backlash should be zero. So it should be zero, but in actual practice, some amount of backlash should be there to prevent the jamming thermal expansion. So it is to be there. Next one is the face of the tooth. So it is the surface of the gate tooth above the pitch surface. When you are going to measure the pitch surface, it is the uppermost part of the pitch surface. Next one is the flank of the tooth. So it is the surface of the gate tooth below the pitch surface. So the curvature in the gate tooth at the bottom surface is the flank there. Next one is the top plan. So it is the surface of the top of the tooth. So it is taken as the topmost surface of the tooth. And next one, face width. So it is the width of the gate tooth, which is to be parallel to the axis. So this is can be measured parallel to the axis. So that is called as face width. Next one is the profile. So this is the curve formed by the face and the flank of the tooth. So that type of curvature is called as the profile. Next one is the fillet radius. So it is the radius that connects the root circle to the profile of the tooth. So this can be taken as the root circle to the profile of the tooth. So that is called as fillet radius. Next one is the path of contact. So generally this is traced by the point of contact between two teeth from the beginning to the end, and from the beginning and to the end of the engagement. That is the matching of the gates. Next one is the length of the path of contact. So this is taken as the length of common normal, which is cut off by the addendum circles of the wheel and the pinion. So this is the length of the common normal cut off by addendum circle of the wheel and the pinion. And next one is the arc of contact. So it is a very important point to the next lecture. So we are going to take the path of contact and the arc of contact points to find the law of bearing and other elements. So this is the path traced by a point on the fixed circle from the beginning to the end of the engagement of a given pair of teeth. So it is taken as the given pair of teeth. And the arc of contact consists of two parts. So this must be of two parts. That is, first one is the arc of approach, and second one is the arc of recess. So when coming to the arc of approach, so this is taken as the portion of the arc of contact from the beginning of the engagement to a pitch point. And next, the arc of resist is taken as the it is taken as the portion of the arc of point from the pitch point to the end portion of the engagement of a pair of teeth. So that is to the end part of the portion of the teeth. It is taken as. So that is the arc of faces. So basically, this arc of contact is traced out by these 2 3 points. So basically, 2 points is the first one is the arc of approach, and second one is the arc of recess. So by these are the different points of the nomenclature of a gate. And next we are going to see the advantages and disadvantages of different gates. So for each and individual game, we are going to take different advantages because we does not take the common type of advantages and disadvantages for the gates because each and every gate have different types of design. So these first one is the spur gate. So for this per gate, we are going to see the advantages. So this have very high power transmission efficiency. So generally these circuits are used to transmit high power and they are very compact and easy to install. So it consists of a simple design. So generally these circuits are very commonly used gates and it consists of very simple design. So they are very compact and easy to install. Unlike all the belt drives, these gates have no slip. So for all the gates also design are different, but there is no slippage in the gates due to the meshing of two gates. And these gates can be used to transmit for the large transmission of power. So which is of up to 50,000 kilowatts. So high power transmission is transmitted by these gates. And coming to the disadvantages, the spur gears drives are very costly when compared to the belt drives. So when compared to only belt drives and other type of drives, these spur gears are somewhat costlier than the belt drives, and it produces a lot of noise when operating at high speeds. So generally, when you are going to transmit very high power transmission efficiency, so there is some amount of noise in between that. So that is the noise occurred by this high power transmission efficiency. So that is also the disadvantage for these gates, and they cannot be used for longer distance power transmission. So of course, gates not for these gates. So all gates have not been used for longer distance power transmission. So these are used for the shorter distance power transmission. So for long distance power transmission, we are going to use the belt drives. Next, we go to the helical gates. So, coming to the advantages, these helical gates are less noisy than the other gates which we are going to see. And they can handle more load than the spur gear, which is equivalent teeth and tooth. So, for the spur gears also it has the same type of handling more load, but these helical gates can handle more load than the spur gears, which is having the equivalent width and tooth, and they can be made to engage at smaller angles also. And coming to the efficiency, which is lost as the angle becomes greater. So the angle in the helical gears, when we use it to raise the angle, so the efficiency is going to be lost. So that is also an advantage. And coming to the disadvantages, it have a higher load capacity but expensive to manufacture because of its design. These helical gears are very expensive to design and manufacture, and it is also costlier. That is the expensive nature. Then they can have a axial thrust, and this can, however, be overcome by the use of double helical gears. So when we are going to use the double helical gears by having a V-shaped teeth in it, we are going to cross this section. That is overcome this section. The next one, we have the bevel gates. So the advantage of the bevel gates are, so this gate makes it possible to change the operating angle. So when we are going to change the operating angle, so you should use the bevel gauge, that is changing of one axis to the other axis, and differing of the number of teeth in the effective diameter. Each wheel can allow the mechanical advantage to be changed. So this can be changed by the mechanical advantage. And by increasing or decreasing the ratio of teeth between the driver wheel and the driven wheel, one may change the ratio of rotations between the two. That is, it can change the rotations of the driver gear and the driven gear. So these are two advantages. And next, now coming to the disadvantages of it. So one wheel of such gear is designed to work with its complementary wheel, and no other wheel has to be attached with it. So that is the only disadvantage of the bevel gear. And the shaft bearings must be capable of supporting significant forces. It should be supportive of the significant forces which are in parallel to that, and it must be precise. It must be mounted precisely to it. So it must be very precise in character. So these are the different disadvantages of the bevel gauge. And last we come to the advantages and disadvantages of worm gauge. So first coming to the advantages, these worm gear drives operate silently and smoothly. So differentiating it with the other type of gears, so these worm gears have very low noise and operates its operation gets very smooth in life. And they have occupy very less in space. So they occupy very less space and they have good mesh effectiveness. And these can be used for reducing speed and increasing the torque portions. So that is the main proportions of the worm gears. And disadvantage, coming to the disadvantages, these worm gears materials are very expensive. So the materials used in the worm gears are very expensive, and the worm drives have high power losses and low transmission efficiency. So it has very low power transmission efficiency and high power losses in it. Next one, they produce a lot of heat due to the resistance between them. So they should be produce a lot of heat due to the resistance between them. So these are the disadvantages of worm gears. Next, coming to the common advantages and disadvantages of the gear drives. So common advantage excludes it transmits the exact velocity ratio. That is, the speed of the gears should be easily measured in that, and it may be used to transmit larger power. So they are going to be transmit larger power than the belt drives and chain drives, and it may be used for small center distances. So we are going to use only for the less distances only. And next one, it has high efficiency than other drives, that is the belt drive or chain drives, and it has a reliable service. So there must be a good reliable service between the gates. for the life and size. And last one, it has a very compact layout. So layout also be very simple and compact in size. And coming to the disadvantages, since the manufacture of the gears requires special tools and equipment, therefore it is costlier than the other drives. So the materials of the drives should be costlier. That is why it is costlier than the other drives. And the error in the cutting tooth may cause the vibrations and noise during the operation. So this results in the noise and vibrational analysis, and it requires suitable lubricant and reliable method of applying it for proper operation of the gear drives. So that is the different disadvantages of the gear drives. So by this, I am going to end my class. Thank you.